The Awakening. The icy moon of Kigostras lay shrouded in silence, its surface a desolate expanse marked by ancient scars. Beneath layers of frost and ice, a secret slept, one that had been entombed for 7 centuries. It was here that historian, those had dedicated his life to uncovering the mysteries of humanity's past. His heart raced with anticipation as he oversaw the drilling rig that chewed through the ice, sending plumes of debris skyward. This mission was not merely an excavation. It was a quest for answers about a civilization that had vanished without a trace. As seismic readings spiked on his monitor, a crewman shouted excitedly, "We've breached a large cavity." Those felt a thrill run through him. This was it, the moment he had waited for. "Hold! Stop on the drill. Get the drones down there now," he commanded, his voice firm despite his excitement. A swarm of hovering probes descended into the opening, their floodlights illuminating what lay hidden beneath centuries of ice. The images transmitted back left those breathless. Before them stood the massive prow of a human warship, the Hyperion, its form defiantly intact, despite its long imprisonment. How can it be so well preserved? Zorax, his assistant, whispered in awe. Thos was already donning his environmental suit, his mind racing with possibilities. "We're going down there," he declared resolutely. Minutes later, they descended in a pod, hovering before the towering hull of Hyperion. Running gloved hands over the frost-covered metal, he marveled at its craftsmanship. "I never thought I'd see human shipbuilding firsthand," he murmured. Deeper within the hangar, they discovered regimented rows of auxiliary craft, sleek shuttles that looked ready to fly at a moment's notice. Zorax's eyes widened as he absorbed the scale around him. "Commander, these small ships are in pristine condition," he reported. Thos's expression darkened as he realized what they had found. "This is no mere colony transport," he said slowly. "This is a supercarrier, a fully equipped warship capable of deploying dozens of fighters and landing craft." Questions swirled in his mind like storm clouds. What were humans doing out here with such a military vessel? Their communications crackled urgently as another crew member interrupted his thoughts. "Commander, long-range sensors show a ship transiting into the system. Configuration matches a Concordance patrol frigate." Those swore under his breath. They had been detected. "How long until they enter scanning range?" he asked quickly. 15 minutes, sir." Those clenched his fists, torn between fleeing, abandoning this monumental discovery, and staying to uncover its secrets. "Zorax, can you power up one of those shuttles?" he asked urgently. "I think so," Zorax replied hesitantly. "Human systems have proven highly intuitive to me." "Get one online and cloak it," Those ordered decisively. "We'll shelter inside the carrier until the patrol passes." He switched to all crewcoms. "This is Commander Thos. Scrub all signs of excavation and go dark. Prepare for imminent Concordance contact." The crew scrambled into action as Thos and Zorax hastily restored power to the nearest shuttle. Conduits thrummed to life, bathing them in an eerie glow as they sealed themselves inside. Heartbeats echoed in their ears as they engaged cloaking systems. "We should be invisible to scans," Zorax reported nervously. "With respect, sir," Zorax added cautiously, "we're hiding a 700-year-old human shuttle inside a 700-year-old human warship." Those couldn't help but laugh despite himself. "That it is, my young friend," he replied with a mix of pride and anxiety. They held their breath as the patrol ship slid into view, its scanners probing over Kikostra's pockmarked surface. Time stretched painfully as they waited for what felt like an eternity, until finally, relief washed over them. The patrol ship banked away and accelerated out of orbit, transitioning to warp speed without detecting them. They exhaled shackly. They had done it. The discovery that could reshape galactic history remained safe in their hands. With immediate danger past, those turned to Zorax with renewed determination. "We need to move fast," he said firmly. "They'll be back with a full archaeological team once they report this anomaly." Zorax nodded vigorously. "Where do we start?" "We need schematics, crew manifests, logs, anything that tells us what this ship was doing here." Those fingers flew over the control panel as data began streaming across their screens. His eyes widened as he scanned through schematics, revealing that Arch-Hyperion was gargantuan, 5 times larger than any known dreadnought, and equipped with fabrication bays capable of constructing entire battle fleets in deep space. "This isn't just a colony ship, it's a top-secret military project," those mused aloud. "But for what purpose?" Zorax asked curiously. Those frowned as fragmented log entries flickered on screen before him, references to something called Project Genesis, but details were locked behind quantum encryption even he couldn't crack. "The vessel is far too massive for us to explore fully in our limited time," those concluded after studying their options intently. "We need to focus our efforts on accessing the command bridge first, to retrieve captain's logs, and check cryogenic bays for any surviving senior officers." Zorax nodded again with determination etched across his youthful features. "I'll lead a team to the bridge. You take care of the cryo bays." As they set off into Arch-Hyperion's bowels, metallic boots clanged against metal decks while navigating winding corridors filled with shadows from long-forgotten battles fought within these walls. Suddenly pausing mid-stride, those frowned at scorch marks marring one bulkhead, a note of dread forming in his gut as he ran gloved fingers over blackened metal remnants left behind by plasma burns from Concordance naval weapons fire. Rounding another corner led them straight into grisly scenes, armored bodies strewn across passageways like discarded toys, combat rifles still clutched tight within skeletal hands belonging once to human soldiers who had fought bravely against unknown foes. Those crouched beside one corpse only to recoil at desiccated flesh, stretched tight over bone, a grim reminder that these were not mere relics but victims frozen in time itself. Yet something felt off about this scene entirely. The carbon dating results left him reeling. "This can't be right," he muttered under his breath as readings confirmed time of death at 575 standard years ago, over 2 centuries after the Exodus. The realization hit him like lightning. Arch-Hyperion had still been active when someone attacked it. Zorax glanced nervously down dimly lit hallways, echoing with uncertainty surrounding them both. But who? And why did battle damage go unnoticed until now? Those shook his head slowly. No answers came forth from swirling implications clouding his mind as they approached cryo bay doors standing ajar with pale vapor wafting from within like ghosts beckoning them closer still. Stepping cautiously over threshold froze him solid. A hulking silhouette emerged from swirling mists. A combat robot nearly 3 meters tall swiveled its angular head toward intruders, while twin optic sensors glowed crimson assessing threat levels instantly. Servos whined ominously, raising massive plasma rifle aimed directly at them. Both, he raised hands, slowly feeling hearts hammer against ribs, while searching desperately for words, avoiding swift, violent ends, awaiting if provoked further. A sinking certainty settled deep within him. Whatever secrets lay hidden aboard Arch-Hyperion, the ancient mechanical sentinel standing guard would ensure none escaped unscathed. Secrets of the past. As the echoes of alarm faded into silence, those stood in awe within the vast hangar of the Arch-Hyperion. The ancient warship loomed over him like a titan from a forgotten age, its once majestic form now shrouded in layers of frost. With their path determined, They made their way toward the nearest cryo bay entrance indicated on Zorax's display. As they walked through dimly lit corridors lined with faded murals depicting heroic battles from humanity's past, those couldn't help but feel a sense of loss wash over him, a reminder that these halls once echoed with life. They arrived at a large door marked Cryobay Alpha. It loomed before them like a sentinel guarding secrets long buried in ice and time. Thos pressed his hand against a control panel beside it. Lights flickered before settling on green as the door hissed open. Inside lay rows upon rows of cryopods, each one encased in frost and silence like tombs waiting for their occupants to awaken from slumber. The sight sent shivers down Thos' spine. These were not mere machines, but vessels containing lives suspended in time. "We need to see who's inside," he said softly. Zorax nodded and moved toward one pod, displaying faint life signs on his scanner. "This one appears active. I think we can thaw them out." Those watched intently as Zorax initiated thawing protocols on the pod's control panel. The machinery whirred to life with mechanical precision. Steam hissed as frost melted away from its surface, revealing intricate designs etched into metal plating. With a final hiss, the pod opened slowly, revealing a figure inside, a woman clad in what appeared to be an admiral's uniform that had faded over centuries yet still held an air of authority about it. As she stirred awake, her eyes snapped open, sharp and alert despite her long dormancy, and locked onto those with an intensity that made him feel exposed under her scrutiny. "Identify yourself," she demanded hoarsely yet firmly. Those hesitated for only a moment before responding with conviction. "I am Thos, historian from Dross Station. We discovered your ship entombed in ice and sought to uncover its secrets." Her gaze shifted from him to Zorax, and then back again as she assessed her surroundings with remarkable calmness, despite having awakened in such an alien environment after centuries asleep. "What has happened?" she asked slowly as she stepped out from her pod, testing her limbs cautiously like someone emerging from deep water after too long submerged. "You are aboard Arch Hyperion," Thos explained carefully, while gesturing around them at remnants left behind by time itself. The ghostly outlines cast against walls where battles once raged fiercely amidst chaos. "A human supercarrier lost during the Exodus." The Admiral's expression hardened slightly at mention of those dark days. Memories flickered behind her eyes like distant stars fading into oblivion. Lost comrades fighting valiantly against overwhelming odds while humanity struggled for survival amidst galactic turmoil. "Admiral Elena Voss," she introduced herself finally after regaining composure enough to speak clearly again. Her voice steady now, carrying weight forged through experience tempered by hardship, endured over lifetimes lived beyond reckoning itself. "Explain yourself further." Those took a deep breath. They were standing at the precipice between past glories forgotten by time itself and futures yet unwritten, the weighty responsibility resting squarely upon shoulders unprepared for such monumental revelations ahead. But there was no turning back now. The truth awaited them all within Arch Hyperion's depths. Echoes of war. The air crackled with tension as Admiral Elena Voss stepped out of her cryopod, her sharp gaze taking in the remnants of the Arch Hyperion. The ancient warship, once a symbol of humanity's might, now lay in eerie silence, its corridors haunted by memories of battles fought and lives lost. Those still reeling from the shock of encountering a living legend felt a mixture of awe and urgency. They were standing at the threshold of history, and he could not afford to waste this opportunity. "Admiral Voss," Thos began, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. "We need your guidance. We've uncovered your ship after centuries of dormancy, and we believe it holds answers to the mystery of humanity's disappearance." Alina's expression softened slightly as she processed his words. "You are historians?" she asked, her voice hoarse yet commanding. "Yes," Zorax interjected, eager to prove their worth. "We've been studying the events leading up to the Exodus and the subsequent disappearance of human civilization." Alina nodded slowly, her mind racing back to the past. Images of her crew, their laughter echoing through the ship's halls, and the camaraderie they shared amidst the chaos of war. The Arch-Hyperion was part of a fleet designed for Project Genesis, she explained. "We were tasked with exploring uncharted territories and defending human colonies from alien threats." Those felt a shiver run down his spine. "But what happened? Why were you left here?" Alina's gaze turned distant as she recalled that fateful day. "We encountered a formidable enemy, a coalition of alien races united against us. They sought to eradicate humanity from existence. During one of our missions, we were ambushed in this very system. Our ship sustained heavy damage, and we initiated emergency protocols to protect the crew." "What about your crew?" Those pressed, eager for details. Alina's eyes darkened with sorrow. "Many were lost in the battle. Those who survived were placed in cryosleep as we attempted to escape. I ordered the ship to enter stealth mode while we drifted into this icy moon's orbit." She paused, her voice trembling slightly. "I thought we would be rescued, but we never were." Zorax exchanged glances with those, both realizing that they had stumbled upon a tragedy far greater than they had anticipated. "We need to access the ship's logs," Zorax suggested urgently. "There must be records detailing what transpired during those final moments." "Follow me," Alina replied, her resolve hardening as she led them deeper into the bowels of Arch-Hyperion. As they navigated through dimly lit corridors adorned with faded murals depicting heroic battles, those felt an overwhelming sense of history surrounding them, a tapestry woven with threads of bravery and sacrifice. They arrived at a large chamber marked Command Bridge, its doors sealed tight. Alina approached the control panel and activated it with a series of swift commands. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing a room filled with advanced technology that had long since become obsolete. Holographic displays flickered to life as they stepped inside. "Accessing command logs," Alina murmured as she began typing furiously on the console. Those watched intently as images from the past materialized before them. Holographic recordings depicting frantic crew members manning their stations during the ambush. He could feel their desperation radiating through time as alarms blared and red lights flashed ominously. "Captain," one officer shouted in panic as explosions rocked the ship. "We're losing power in multiple sectors. Divert all remaining energy to shields." Captain Voss commanded fiercely, "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The recording continued to play out like a tragic opera, each moment more harrowing than the last, as they witnessed their final stand against overwhelming odds. "We can't hold them off much longer," another crew member cried out. Those felt his heart race as he realized how close they had come to annihilation, how brave these individuals had been in their fight for survival. Suddenly, Alina paused the recording and turned to those and Zorax with urgency in her eyes. "There, that was our last known location before we entered stealth mode." She pointed at a holographic map displaying their trajectory through space. Those leaned closer, studying it intently. "If we can find that point in space again, we might uncover more about what happened after your disappearance." Alina nodded slowly, but then hesitated. "But there's more," she said gravely. "The enemy we faced was not just any coalition. They were led by an entity known as the Convergence, a collective intelligence that sought to assimilate all sentient life into its hive mind." Zorax's eyes widened in disbelief. A hive mind. How could you fight something like that? Thos felt a chill run down his spine at her words. This was not merely a battle between species, but an existential struggle against an unfathomable force seeking dominance over all life. What do you remember about their strategy? He asked cautiously. They used psychological warfare against us, Elena replied, her voice steady despite the memories flooding back. Images of fear-stricken faces among her crew haunted by visions crafted by the Convergence itself, turning us against one another until trust eroded completely. Those exchanged glances with Zorax. They needed to prepare for whatever threats lay ahead if they were going to revive Arch-Hyperion and uncover its secrets. Can you help us reactivate this ship? Zorax asked earnestly. Elena straightened her posture, determination igniting within her once more. Yes, she replied firmly. But first, we must ensure that any remaining automated defenses are neutralized before we proceed further. With renewed purpose coursing through them all, they set off toward engineering, a labyrinthine section filled with dormant machinery waiting patiently for someone to breathe life back into its circuits once more. As they moved through darkened passageways illuminated only by flickering emergency lights overhead, casting eerie shadows across walls lined with rusted panels, the weighty silence pressed down around them like an oppressive shroud, each step echoing loudly against metal decks long untouched by time itself. Arriving at engineering revealed chaos frozen in place. Consoles displayed error messages, while machinery lay dormant beneath layers of dust accumulated over centuries, remnants left behind after countless battles fought within these very walls. Let's see what we can do, Elena said resolutely as she approached one console displaying power readings fluctuating erratically across various systems. Her fingers danced across controls activating diagnostic protocols, while those observed closely hoping for signs indicating potential recovery ahead. Suddenly alarms blared throughout engineering, causing all three occupants' hearts to race, red lights flashing ominously signaling imminent danger. What's happening? Zorax shouted over the cacophony echoing around them. The automated defenses are reactivating, Elena replied urgently. Before anyone could react fully, a massive door slammed shut behind them, sealing off their escape route, while mechanical arms extended from walls poised threateningly toward intruders. Those felt adrenaline surge through him. They needed an escape plan fast. Get ready, he yelled. He grabbed Zorax's arm, pulling him closer while Elena focused intently on disabling security protocols, racing against time itself. With each passing second, the mechanical arms advanced menacingly toward them, readying weapons designed for destruction. Almost there, Elena shouted desperately. Those clenched his fists, preparing for whatever came next, knowing full well survival depended on teamwork, forged through trust built amidst adversity, faced together against overwhelming odds. Finally, the console emitted a triumphant beep signaling success. Systems offline, Elena exclaimed breathlessly, lowering her hands in relief. As mechanical arms retracted back into walls, the door slid open, revealing an escape route leading deeper into Arch-Hyperion, where secrets awaited discovery beyond imagination itself. Let's move, those urged as they sprinted forward into darkness beyond, knowing full well danger lurked just beyond shadows, waiting patiently, readying themselves for another confrontation between light and darkness. The echoes of war resonating throughout time, reminding them all that history never truly sleeps. A new alliance. The tension in the command bridge of the Arch-Hyperion was palpable as Admiral Elena Voss stood before those in Zorax, her sharp gaze piercing through the remnants of their shared history. The atmosphere crackled with urgency as they faced the daunting task of reviving a warship that had been dormant for centuries. Those felt a surge of hope mixed with trepidation. They were not just uncovering the past, but potentially shaping the future. Admiral, we need to understand how to operate this ship fully. Thus began, his voice steady despite the weight of their situation. We must reactivate its systems and prepare for any threats that may come our way. Elena nodded, her expression resolute. You're right. We may have evaded the Concordance patrol for now, but they will return. We need to be ready. She turned to Zorax, who was still absorbing the enormity of their discovery. Can you assist me in accessing the ship's mainframe? We need to restore power and ensure all systems are operational. Zorax straightened, his youthful enthusiasm shining through. Absolutely. I've already started working on some of the auxiliary systems, but I'll need your expertise to get into the core systems. He moved toward a nearby console, fingers dancing over controls as he initiated diagnostic protocols. As Zorax worked, those took a moment to reflect on their circumstances. They were standing on a ship that had once been a beacon of human ingenuity and strength, a vessel designed for exploration and defense against formidable foes. Now it was up to them to breathe life back into this ancient war machine. Admiral, those said, breaking the silence that enveloped them, what can you tell us about the crew? Are there any surviving officers who can help us navigate this ship? Elena's expression softened slightly as she considered his question. Most of my crew perished during the ambush, she admitted, her voice tinged with sorrow. However, there may be others in cryosleep like me, senior officers who could provide valuable insights into our mission and how to operate Arch-Hyperion effectively. Those felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Then we must locate them. If we can revive key personnel, we can form a cohesive team capable of defending ourselves against any threats. Zorax looked up from his console, excitement evident in his eyes. I can access the cryobay logs. If there are more officers in stasis, we'll find them. Do it, Elena commanded with renewed determination. We need every advantage we can muster. As Zorax delved into the ship's systems, those turned his attention back to Elena. What do you remember about Project Genesis? Why was Arch-Hyperion built? Elena's gaze shifted to the holographic displays illuminating the command bridge. Project Genesis was an ambitious initiative aimed at creating a new class of warship capable of interstellar warfare and deep space exploration, she explained. The Arch-Hyperion was designed not only for combat, but also for rapid deployment of forces and resources to distant colonies. Those nodded slowly, processing her words. So it was meant to be a mobile base for humanity's expansion. Exactly, Elena replied, her tone firm. But it was also built with advanced technology that allowed for self-repair and resource fabrication, essentially making it a mobile forge world capable of sustaining itself indefinitely in hostile environments. Zorax chimed in from his console, excitement bubbling over as he uncovered more data. It looks like Arch-Hyperion had multiple fabrication bays. We could use those to create supplies and even repair damaged systems. Then our first priority should be securing those fabrication bays. Those said decisively. If we can establish control over them, we'll have everything we need to prepare for potential conflict. Elena nodded in agreement. Let's move quickly. Time is not on our side. Elena nodded, her expression resolute. You're right. We may have evaded the Concordance patrol for now, but they will return. We need to be ready. She turned to Zorax, who was still absorbing the enormity of their discovery. Can you assist me in accessing the ship's mainframe? We need to restore power and ensure all systems are operational. Zorax straightened, his youthful enthusiasm shining through. Absolutely. I've already started working on some of the auxiliary systems, but I'll need your expertise to get into the core systems. He moved toward a nearby console, fingers dancing over controls as he initiated diagnostic protocols. As Zorax worked, those took a moment to reflect on their circumstances. They were standing on a ship that had once been a beacon of human ingenuity and strength, a vessel designed for exploration and defense against formidable foes. Now it was up to them to breathe life back into this ancient war machine. "Admiral," those said, breaking the silence that enveloped them, "what can you tell us about the crew? Are there any surviving officers who can help us navigate this ship?" Elena's expression softened slightly as she considered his question. "Most of my crew perished during the ambush," she admitted, her voice tinged with sorrow. "However, there may be others in cryosleep like me, senior officers who could provide valuable insights into our mission and how to operate Arch-Hyperion effectively." Thos felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. "Then we must locate them. If we can revive key personnel, we can form a cohesive team capable of defending ourselves against any threats." Zorax looked up from his console, excitement evident in his eyes. "I can access the cryo-bay logs. If there are more officers in stasis, we'll find them." "Do it," Elena commanded with renewed determination. "We need every advantage we can muster." As Zorax delved into the ship's systems, those turned his attention back to Elena. "What do you remember about Project Genesis? Why was Arch-Hyperion built?" Elena's gaze shifted to the holographic displays illuminating the command bridge. Project Genesis was an ambitious initiative aimed at creating a new class of warship capable of interstellar warfare and deep space exploration, she explained. The Arch-Hyperion was designed not only for combat, but also for rapid deployment of forces and resources to distant colonies. Those nodded slowly, processing her words. "So it was meant to be a mobile base for humanity's expansion." "Exactly," Elena replied, her tone firm. "But it was also built with advanced technology that allowed for self-repair and resource fabrication, essentially making it a mobile forge world capable of sustaining itself indefinitely in hostile environments." Zorax chimed in from his console, excitement bubbling over as he uncovered more data. "It looks like Arch-Hyperion had multiple fabrication bays. We could use those to create supplies and even repair damaged systems. Then our first priority should be securing those fabrication bays," Thos said decisively. "If we can establish control over them, we'll have everything we need to prepare for potential conflict." Elena nodded in agreement. "Let's move quickly. Time is not on our side." With a plan in place, they set off toward the nearest fabrication bay, a sprawling chamber filled with dormant machinery waiting patiently for someone to awaken it from slumber. As they navigated through dimly lit corridors adorned with faded murals, depicting heroic battles from humanity's past, those felt an overwhelming sense of history surrounding them, a tapestry woven with threads of bravery and sacrifice. Arriving at the fabrication bay revealed chaos frozen in place. Consoles displayed error messages, while machinery lay dormant beneath layers of dust accumulated over centuries, remnants left behind after countless battles fought within these very walls. "Let's see what we can do," Elena said resolutely as she approached one console displaying power readings fluctuating erratically across various systems. Her fingers danced across controls activating diagnostic protocols, while those observed closely hoping for signs indicating potential recovery ahead. Suddenly alarms blared throughout engineering, causing all three occupants' hearts to race, red lights flashing ominously signaling imminent danger. "What's happening?" Zorax shouted over the cacophony echoing around them. "The automated defenses are reactivating," Elena replied urgently. Before anyone could react fully, a massive door slammed shut behind them, sealing off their escape route, while mechanical arms extended from walls poised threateningly toward intruders. Those felt adrenaline surge through him. They needed an escape plan fast. "Get ready," he yelled. He grabbed Zorax's arm, pulling him closer, while Elena focused intently on disabling security protocols, racing against time itself. With each passing second, the mechanical arms advanced menacingly toward them, readying weapons designed for destruction. Almost there, Elena shouted desperately. Finally, the console emitted a triumphant beep signaling success. "Systems offline," Elena exclaimed breathlessly, lowering her hands in relief. As mechanical arms retracted back into walls, the door slid open, revealing an escape route leading deeper into Arch Hyperion, where secrets awaited discovery beyond imagination itself. "Let's move," those urged as they sprinted forward into darkness beyond, knowing full well danger lurked just beyond, shadows waiting patiently, readying themselves for another confrontation between light and darkness. The echoes of war resonating throughout time, reminding them all that history never truly sleeps. With newfound resolve coursing through their veins, they pressed onward through dimly lit corridors filled with shadows cast by flickering emergency lights overhead, each step echoing loudly against metal decks long untouched by time itself. As they journeyed deeper into Arch Hyperion's heart, a sense of urgency propelled them forward. They needed answers before it was too late. Arriving at another large chamber marked Cryo-Bay Beta, those felt anticipation building within him. This could be where more officers lay dormant, waiting for revival, just like Admiral Voss had been. Elena approached yet another control panel, activating thawing protocols, while Zorax monitored readings closely, ensuring everything functioned smoothly. The first pod slid open with a hiss, revealing another figure inside. A tall man clad in what appeared to be an officer's uniform that had faded over centuries, yet still held an air of authority about him. As he stirred awake, his eyes snapped open, sharp and alert despite long dormancy, and locked onto Elena with an intensity that made everyone feel exposed under scrutiny. "Identify yourself," he demanded hoarsely yet firmly. Elena stepped forward confidently, introducing herself once more while gesturing toward those and Zorax, standing nearby. "I am Admiral Elena Voss. These are my associates, those and Zorax. We discovered your ship entombed in ice and sought to uncover its secrets." The officer's gaze shifted from her to those, then back again, assessing their surroundings carefully before finally relaxing slightly as recognition dawned upon him. "I am Captain Jarek Lothar," he replied slowly, still processing everything unfolding around him, his voice steady now, carrying weight forged through experience tempered by hardship, endured over lifetimes lived beyond reckoning itself. "Explain yourselves further." Those took a deep breath. They were standing at the precipice between past glories forgotten by time itself and futures yet unwritten, the weighty responsibility resting squarely upon shoulders unprepared for such monumental revelations ahead. But there was no turning back now. The truth awaited them all within Arch Hyperion's depths. With Captain Lothar awake and ready to assist them, the trio felt bolstered by newfound strength. A united front forged from shared purpose amidst adversity, faced together against overwhelming odds. They quickly briefed him on their situation, the Concordance patrols lurking nearby, and discussed plans for reviving additional crew members still frozen within cryopods scattered throughout Arch Hyperion's vast interior. "We must act quickly," Lothar urged after listening intently, his strategic mind already calculating potential scenarios ahead. "If we revive more officers, we'll have greater resources available when facing whatever threats lie ahead." Those nodded vigorously, feeling hope surge within him once more. Together they could reclaim humanity's legacy from depths forgotten by time itself. The battle for survival. The atmosphere in the Arch-Hyperion was thick with tension as those Admiral Elena Voss and Captain Jarek Lothar prepared to face the imminent threat posed by the Concordance. They had successfully revived key officers from cryosleep, but time was running short. The ship's sensors had detected multiple Concordance vessels entering the system, and their intentions were clear. They would not allow the Arch-Hyperion to escape. "Admiral, we need to strategize," Thos said, urgency lacing his voice. "The Concordance is relentless. They'll want to reclaim this ship and eliminate any witnesses to its existence." Elena nodded, her expression steely. "We must utilize Arch-Hyperion's capabilities to our advantage. If we can restore full power and activate the weapon systems, we might stand a chance against them." Lothar chimed in. "We should also consider our escape routes. If we can't fight them off, we need a plan to evade capture." Those felt a surge of determination. "Let's split our efforts. I'll work with Zorax and the engineering team to restore power and weapon systems. Admiral Voss and Captain Lothar can coordinate with the revived officers to prepare for combat." As they set off on their respective tasks, those felt a mix of hope and anxiety. The Arch-Hyperion was a marvel of ancient technology, but it had been dormant for centuries. Would it respond as they needed? Would they be able to harness its power in time? Restoring power. Thos made his way to the engineering bay, where Zorax was already hard at work. The young engineer was surrounded by flickering screens displaying power levels and system diagnostics. "Zorax," Thos called out as he entered. "How's it looking?" "We're making progress," Zorax replied, his eyes focused on the screens. "I've managed to restore partial power to the main systems, but we need more time to get everything online." "Time is something we may not have," Thos said grimly. "The Concordance will be here any moment. We need to prioritize weapon systems and shields." Zorax nodded, determination etched on his face. "I'll focus on weapons first. If we can get the plasma cannons operational, we'll have a fighting chance." As Zorax worked feverishly at the console, Thos scanned the engineering bay for any additional resources that could aid their efforts. He spotted a series of maintenance drones, small robotic units designed for repairs and upgrades. "Zorax, can we deploy those maintenance drones?" Thos asked. "Great idea," Zorax exclaimed as he activated the drones with a few swift commands. "They can help expedite repairs on critical systems, while I focus on the weapons." With the drones whirring to life and moving toward various damaged components of the ship's infrastructure, Thos felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. They were working against time, but they were not alone in this fight. Preparing for combat. Meanwhile, Elena Voss and Captain Lothar gathered the revived officers in the command bridge, a mix of seasoned veterans and eager young recruits who had once served aboard Arch-Hyperion. "Listen up," Elena commanded, her voice cutting through the chatter as she addressed her crew. "We are facing an immediate threat from Concordance forces entering this system. Our mission is twofold: defend this ship and prepare for potential evacuation if necessary." Lothar stepped forward, his expression serious yet encouraging. "We may be outnumbered, but we have an advantage. The Arch-Hyperion is equipped with advanced weaponry that has been dormant for too long. If we can get it operational in time, we can turn the tide." The officers nodded in agreement, their resolve strengthening as they prepared for battle. "What are our current capabilities?" one officer asked. Elena gestured toward a holographic display that illuminated the command bridge with tactical overlays showing enemy positions and ship configurations. "We have plasma cannons mounted along the hull and missile bays, that can be activated once power is restored. Lothar added, "We'll need teams stationed at key points throughout the ship, engineering for repairs, gunnery crews at weapons stations, and security teams ready to repel boarders if necessary." As they finalized their battle plan, alarms blared throughout Arch Hyperion, a stark reminder that time was slipping away. The first engagement. Those returned to engineering just as Zorax completed restoring power to the plasma cannons. The room filled with a low hum as systems came online one by one. "Plasma cannons are operational," Zorax shouted triumphantly. "Excellent. Let's get them targeted," Thos replied as he rushed to a nearby console, displaying tactical data. Suddenly, an alert flashed across their screens. Concordant ships were entering firing range. "Brace yourselves," Thos shouted as he activated defensive protocols. The ship shuddered as enemy fire struck its shields. Alarms blared throughout Arch Hyperion, signaling damage reports from various sections of the vessel. Shields holding at 70%. Zorax called out over the chaos. "Divert all remaining power to shields," Thos ordered urgently. "We need every ounce of protection we can muster." As they braced for impact, Alina's voice crackled over the comms. "All hands, prepare for combat. Engage plasma cannons." Thos felt adrenaline surge through him as he watched holographic displays update with enemy positions. He could see concordant ships closing in fast, an armada intent on reclaiming what they believed was theirs. "Targeting enemy frigate," Zorax shouted as he maneuvered controls deftly. Plasma cannons locked onto their target, a sleek vessel bristling with weaponry. "Fire," Alina commanded fiercely. A brilliant beam of energy erupted from Arch Hyperion's cannons, striking true against its target. An explosion rocked through space, illuminating darkness like fireworks against night sky. Those cheered alongside Zorax as they witnessed their first victory. But it was short-lived. More enemy ships were closing in fast. "We've got incoming missiles," Zorax warned frantically. "Divert all energy from non-essential systems. Activate point defense turrets." Those shouted back, desperately trying to keep pace with chaos unfolding around them. Holding their ground, as point defense turrets sprang into action, firing bursts of energy at incoming missiles. The crew worked tirelessly under pressure. Each moment felt like an eternity as they fought against overwhelming odds. Alina coordinated fire from various weapon stations, while Lothar led teams throughout different sections, ensuring everyone remained focused amidst turmoil surrounding them all. Thos felt exhilaration mixed with fear coursing through him. This was no longer just an archaeological expedition. It had transformed into a desperate fight for survival against an enemy determined to erase them from existence. "We're taking heavy damage on Deck 3, one officer reported breathlessly over comms. Panic laced through his voice, echoing across bridge like haunting spectre, reminding them all of fragility inherent within life itself. "Redirect auxiliary power from non-critical areas. Reinforce those shields." Alina commanded, firmly refusing to yield, even when faced with adversity threatening their very lives. With every passing moment, the battle raged on outside Arch Hyperion, a testament not only to human ingenuity, but resilience forged through countless struggles, faced together against insurmountable odds. A glimmer of hope. Just when it seemed all hope might be lost, Thos noticed something unusual on his tactical display, a flicker indicating an unknown vessel approaching rapidly from behind enemy lines. "What is that?" he murmured under his breath, squinting at screen, trying to discern details hidden within swirling chaos surrounding them all. Suddenly, the unknown ship emerged from stealth, revealing itself, a sleek craft emblazoned with symbols unfamiliar yet unmistakably human. "It's another human ship," Zorax exclaimed incredulously. Elena's eyes widened in surprise. She quickly tapped intercom's channels, attempting to establish contact with new arrivals. "This is Admiral Voss, aboard Arch Hyperion. Identify yourselves." A voice crackled over comms, steady despite chaos raging around them. "This is Captain Mirasolus of the USS Vanguard. We received your distress signal and came to assist." Relief washed over everyone aboard Arch Hyperion. Reinforcements had arrived just when they needed it most. "We're engaging Concordance forces now," Mira continued calmly, determination evident even amidst turmoil surrounding them all. "What are your orders?" Elena exchanged glances with Lothar before responding decisively. "Coordinate fire with our plasma cannons. We need to push back their forces." With renewed vigor coursing through every crew member aboard both ships, the tide began turning against Concordance forces, rapidly succumbing under relentless assault, unleashed upon them by united front forged through shared purpose amidst adversity, faced together against overwhelming odds. The final stand. As battles raged on outside, the combined might of Arch Hyperion and USS Vanguard began overwhelming enemy vessels one by one, plasma blasts lighting up space like fireworks, illuminating darkness surrounding them all, reminding everyone present that hope still existed even amidst despair threatening engulf them entirely. Those watched in awe as crew members worked tirelessly under pressure, each moment feeling like eternity, yet somehow finding strength within themselves, pushing forward, refusing yield against insurmountable odds threatening lives around them all. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked through space, sending shockwaves, reverberating across both ships, reminding everyone present just how fragile life could truly be. Even amidst victories won against formidable foes determined to erase humanity from existence entirely. But despite chaos surrounding them, they pressed forward, refusing yield, even when faced overwhelming odds threatening lives around them all, reminding everyone present that hope still existed even amidst despair threatening engulf entire galaxy entirely. As final remnants of Concordance forces began retreating into darkness beyond reach, victory echoed throughout both ships, reminding everyone present that together they could overcome anything. Even darkest nights filled uncertainty looming ahead, waiting patiently ready strike when least expected. In that moment, the crew aboard both vessels celebrated triumph over adversity forged through shared purpose amidst struggles faced together. Knowing full well battles lay ahead, yet somehow finding solace within unity formed amongst allies fighting side by side against common foes determined to erase humanity from existence entirely. And so, the story continued onward, weaving threads connecting past glories forgotten by time itself, while forging new legacies destined to shape futures yet unwritten, waiting patiently beyond horizons, stretching infinitely outward into stars above, shimmering brightly, illuminating paths, leading toward uncharted territories filled promise, adventure awaiting discovery.